I started doing liquidity pools back in the end of November, just on my fees. And this is even in a bear market. I've made close to $10,000 in fees.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you do for a living?
I own my own insurance agency. I own other businesses. I got partnerships and other deals. I got a car rental business. My family owns a bunch of real estate. I got a 20-year long military background. So a lot of different things. I've been involved just in a lot of different things over the years. But my primary source of income is through insurance. I got involved in crypto about a year and a half ago. I got in at the top, like not the top of the bull market, but getting near there. I mean, this is like November, December 2024, right after the election, and everything was just pumping. One of the biggest values you get from like Decentralized Masters, other research you can do is, I think the biggest value is just not how to get scammed. Like that is the biggest thing, and that's prevented me from losing a ton of money. And I think that right there is it's weight in gold.
How has Decentralized Masters impacted your ability to sift through the noise and differing opinions in the crypto space?
Honestly, like a lot of the stuff, like, what it does is I think it just kind of reinforces the stuff. Like I'm already, because I'm OCD, I'm like a dog with a bone. Like once I get on things, that's what I'm researching. Like I'm listening to, podcast on crypto, like watching YouTube videos on it. And it's more of, not like your, typical, because there's a ton of YouTubers on there, like saying buy this or buy that. You kind of see like, and then I get on like the market, the intelligent,
Market
the
Intelligence
one that,
Summit.
yeah, thank you. You see Tan and Salim like really reinforcing the stuff that I'm already hearing. One, you learn new things, but like it's also like that third party validation that you're hearing from people who've made a ton of money in the industry. We did a call with I think I was on that call. I think it was on Tuesday with Tan. And he was just like, hey, look, it's going to go here and then it's going to drop. And it did exactly like that. And I sold a ton. I think it was 2 days ago, like when everything was pumping. I took a ton of profits and put them in stablecoin. Now it's all getting back to kind of where it was. And it's like, all right, let me see if it drops a little more, and then I'm just going to buy it again, with profits that I just made. So I'll just get back into it. But too, like, also like, how to read the charts. That was really insightful on a trading view, because I never really, I've had friends who, day trade and told me, man, you got to read the technicals. And it's like, dude, I don't know I don't know what I'm looking at. Like, if you can explain this. And, I think Tyler's course on the trading view was really, really helpful, on that, because now you can read the charts and understand, and then just plug it into, a lot of those calls. He's going through it and then just really just asking a ton of questions, like anytime I can, like, that's why I always hop on the Thursday calls, because I'll just pick his brain. I don't care. I'll interrupt people. I don't care. I'll just pick his brain until they tell me, until they mute me,
What would you say to someone who is thinking about joining Decentralized Masters or getting into the decentralized finance space in general?
I mean, honestly, like, it's one of those, like, if you're looking to especially invest in it and take it seriously, just like college, if you're like, hey, I want to, learn, I only want to take a computer course to use, man, don't go to a 4-year university to, learn computers. Like, just, take an online course or watch some videos. Like, there's training things that you can do, but like, if you're really seriously looking to get involved in it, then, it's 100% worth it. And that's where it is. Like, you can reach out and be like, hey, what's this? I've had it where, you see like something in your wallet and, like, what's it, like the airdrop scams that they do, like that you can compromise your wallets. And you're like, hey, I got this coin in here and it says I got $12,000. What the hell is this? And then, before you interact with it, what? Yeah, let me just ask my associate, hey, I seen this, what is this? Yeah, that's a scam. Just hide it. Don't interact with it. Don't do anything. It'll drain your wallet. Okay, perfect. When you got $50,000, $60,000 in that one wallet, that right there just paid for your education.
Would you recommend Decentralized Masters to someone who's thinking about joining?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if they're really taking it, if they're looking at, if they're getting into the space and they're really being serious about the space. I wasn't involved in liquidity pools or anything like that until I got involved with Decentralized Masters. And I can tell you just right there on, let's see here on my fees. I started doing liquidity pools in back in the end of November. And just on my fees, and this is even in a bear market. I've made close to $10,000 in fees, and then all I've been doing is using that to DCA basically into a lot of it's like correlated pairs. But I mean, it all started, the root started and the idea started, with because of that the ABN strategy. I'm like, you can how much money can you earn on your own stuff that's just sitting there in a wallet anyways. It's instead of holding it and waiting for it to go up, but it's also a really good defensive position too, because you're hedging against losses in a bear market.